Hello, everyone. This is Tom Lane, DM2's VP of Marketing. I'd like to welcome you all to today's What's New in DM2 webinar. Before I introduce our presenter, I'd just like to go over a couple of housekeeping rules. We are going to keep everyone on mute because of the number of attendees that we have registered for the webinar. If you have any questions during the course of the presentation, please feel free to type them into the chat box that you see in the lower right corner of your screen. At the end, we'll go through those questions, and we'll try and answer as many questions as we can during the presentation. If we do run out of time, we'll be able to follow up with everybody via email to answer your questions. The other thing I'd like to make you aware of is that we are recording today's session. After the session's over, a few days from now, we'll send out a link to be able to get to the recording so you can review it or share it with any of the other employees in your company. And on that note, I would like to introduce today's presenter, Chris Lemonier. Chris is the VP of Technology for DM2 Software. He's also one of the principals of the company. Chris has been with DM2 since May of '96. And I'll turn it over to Chris, and he'll go through what's new in DM2 to talk about some of the new features that we have available in our 4.4 release. And on that note, take away, Chris.
Thanks, Tom, and good morning or afternoon, everybody, depending on where you are. As Tom said, my name is Chris Lemonier. That's a picture of me I'm putting up now, so you guys can put a face to the voice. I always like that because I know when I listen to people talk, I always try and picture what they look like. But that's me sitting at my desk, and you'll notice behind my head there's a Cookie Monster that whispers all this stuff in my ear. So that's where all this information comes from. I am located in the office in Vancouver, Washington. It's a beautiful day outside today. I think it's about maybe 80 degrees. This week is our summer. So we have a week of summer, and then it will begin raining and be the fall. So that's pretty much how our year goes, but we're enjoying our beautiful day, and even though we're spending it a little bit inside. As Tom said, I'm the VP of Technology for DM2 Software, which essentially means I am an alpha geek. I head up the programming group and the technical support group here at DM2. I really love computers. I love working with computers. I love technology. And as a lot of people who have attended our conferences over the years know, I think software is very, very sexy. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to take you through a few behind-the-scenes things going on at DM2, share a little bit of our vision for the product going forward, as well as talk about some specific features in our newest release, which I hope you've had an opportunity to hear about, but we'll touch on a few things within that product. So first, I want to talk a little bit about DM2's vision, what drives our company, how we make decisions about what products we create, and what we put into the product itself and what we ship. We have been focused over the last few years of really growing our application beyond the accounting piece. As you well know, we're built on top of MAS, which is the part of Sage software, and it is considered to be the best mid-range accounting software available. We take that and extend it into the Petroleum environment, but lately we've been looking at the entire enterprise in our system. In fact, our system has been branded an ERP, or an Enterprise Resource Planning System. So what we've been focused on is finding ways of tying in all the different parts of your operation, and we'll be touching on a lot of that today. So just a visual of that, we consider two portions of your company as a front office and a back office. The front office tends to be the customer-facing things that go on inside your business. The back office tends to be the accounting and operations side of what goes on. And of course, they have a bunch of shared information. And we've focused heavily through our system, through the DM2 Petroleum Insight system, the Sage Mass Accounting system, and the new SageCRM to bring all those different functional areas together into a unified view of you, your company, and your customers. So what we see at DM2 is that we try to be a total solution for the petroleum marketer. We address general accounting, we address card lock, lubricants, fuels, heating oil and propane, and C-store retail. We work with quite a few different suppliers, different back ends, different devices that may go on your truck. We work with all kinds of pieces for retail C-store, our own product as well as others, networks, everything you could possibly imagine. CFN, Pack Pride, all the major oils, Exxon, Shell, Texaco, etc. Now, the way we do it is do it through partnerships. And what we do is we focus in areas where we can provide automation or integration. That's really the crux of what drives DM2, and it's in our DNA. When we go into your company, we take a look at what you have, where you're headed, what you're wanting to do, and try and provide not only a total solution from us, but also work in partnership with other suppliers and vendors to bring that complete solution. So it becomes a combination of services, suppliers, customers, and internal things that are going on. So for instance, we have Sage Payment Solutions, which handles credit card transactions, DTN interactions, electronic EFT drafts for suppliers, all kinds of things there. Some internal network stuff, CFN, SmartLogic, Specific Pride, as well as directly to your customers, such as price quotes, paperless system by ASG Cypress, the DM2 Outbox, and a new product we'll talk about in a little bit called Website Pipeline. So these are all areas that we focus on, providing those connections, providing those solutions to your business. They drive our development process, and we're always looking to add in new functions and new functionality there. So one of the things I wanted to do today was give you a peek behind the curtain, or like I like to think about it, how the sausage is made. Basically, I'm going to talk a little bit about some things that are going on inside of DM2, where we've been deploying our own products to provide our own solutions, especially with this idea of combining the front office and back office. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is SageCRM at DM2. SageCRM is our customer management or customer relationship management software that we resell, but we've decided to implement that corporately inside DM2 to handle all of our operations. So our support, our professional services project management, our installation groups, our upgrade groups, everybody runs through CRM. And I wanted to take a moment to show kind of what we're doing and how it fits together. If you're interacting with any of the groups at DM2, that information is being stored, captured, and processed inside of the CRM system, the same one that you can get from us. So first of all, at DM2, we like to say we eat our own dog food. So our focus is making sure that we are using the products we sell. It, of course, helps not only in our understanding of the products and how they interact with the business, but also if you run into an issue, likely we have already run into it and can help you with the resolution. So we do like to eat our own dog food. DM2 has implemented SageCRM internally for the sales department, but we've also introduced it for our case logging and support and our billing system and project management. We use the same CRM system as you do on a day-to-day basis. If you call into tech support, you get a case number from us. That is coming out of CRM. And by the way, that's my little puppy. His name is Caesar. He's quite a handful, actually. So first, take a look at a support pipeline. This is the kind of stuff when you call in and you open a case with us, we're doing. You can see we actually have, in this particular case, 95 cases on this window that are currently open in various stages of processing, contacting, working on the project, those kinds of things. So I'll prioritize and manage from inside CRM. And in fact, any of the emails that you get from us are being sent out via CRM automatically as those cases progress. This is an example of a case search where we're actually going in and looking up a particular case. And of course, DM2 is driven by metrics. We are very metric-driven organizations, key performance indicators, those kinds of things. In this particular case, this screen is showing how many cases we have open by agent, how many cases were closed, what's currently assigned by person. So we have a lot of visibility into what's going on inside of our working with you. And like I said, this is all built right on top of the SageCRM product for DM2. Now if we move on and take a look at professional services, professional services is our installation, upgrade, and custom programming consulting group. They also use CRM for all their project management. So as we open a project with you, for instance, a conversion project, an installation project, or a custom programming project, All of the statuses and everything that goes on is all managed through here, including our billing when we put time in and all that. So we can see how it compares to our projections on the project, what we thought it was going to be, and whether or not we hit our estimates for start dates, finish dates, and the time we figure that it's allotted to. Once again, metrics. In this particular case, we're looking at hours billed. Like I said, we're really big on this kind of stuff, and all this comes directly out of CRM. We also log all of our timesheets through CRM, so when our employees are billing their time or working on a particular thing, billable or not, they're actually logging their timesheets directly in so we can keep track of how much time has been spent in particular areas. And we run all of our projects through a project management system. It's a little add-on for CRM that we actually resell that lets you put in different stages that something's going to go through, monitor whether you're hitting those stages, link up tasks, and all those kinds of things. So a lot of fancy stuff going on there, and we're very proud of its implementation. And it's really made our company more efficient. And I won't say it hasn't been without pain, because it has had some pain, but definitely worth the effort. And it's an exciting product. And we've now been taking this product and extending it a little bit more for the petroleum industry specifically, and we'll show a little bit about that so you can see how that works. Now, sort of enough of that, and what I'd like to do now is transition over to talking about product. Basically, we've got some big announcements that we want to share with you, as well as talk about the future directions that we're headed, and give you a little bit of a glimpse at some things that we're working on. So today, actually, this was done at our user conference about a month ago. We are announcing a new addition to our family, which is the DM2 Release 4.40. So as you know, we've been shipping 4.3 now for a few years, and that was the flagship product for DM2. We have subsequently moved on to 4.4, which is Sage's currently shipping release as of this slide, and has a lot of new functionality, a lot of new enhancements that have gone in, and we're going to talk about some of those. So there were over 100 enhancements added to the software, either by Sage or by DM2. It is the latest technology platform from Sage. So this is their, as far as Windows compatibility, all those kinds of things, this is the platform for that. So if you're on Windows 7 or looking at some of the new stuff that will be coming down the pipe with servers and those kinds of things, if you're looking at doing virtual hosting or putting your stuff onto a VMware share or something like that, this is the technology support for that. It has a new, as you guys know, we've been working through something called Framework, and that has been a complete rewrite of our underlying technology and system that DM2 runs on top of. And with 4.4, well, with 4.2, 4.3, those groups, we moved over sales order and accounts receivable and accounts payable, purchase order. And with 4.4, we now have brought over inventory. So inventory now has the new framework capability. And it is available now. So this is the release. If you called in today and said you wanted to talk about an upgrade or you wanted to look at new functionality, this is the shipping product for DM2. Now with 100 enhancements or so, I don't have the time to go through all of them. So what I did was I picked 10 features from 4.4 that I'd like to highlight for you and give you a chance to take a look at and think about how they would impact your business and get excited about some of this stuff. Some of it's very sexy and very interesting, and it's been generating a lot of excitement for people that have actually had a chance to see this and look at it. So number one, I apologize if the animation is stuttery. There's some animation in this from presenting it live that may not transmit well in the webcast, but we'll see how we do. So the inventory module and framework is what I mentioned earlier. We'll talk a little bit more about what that means. Now all bundled reports and inventory are crystal-based. So if you want to modify, for instance, an inventory item listing, the physical count sheets, all those kinds of things can all be modified now through Crystal across the entire inventory module, and that's true also for sales order, accounts receivable, accounts payable, general ledger, etc. So any of the modules in Framework now have their reports crystal-based, gives you a lot more control over the format and presentation. It now supports role-based security, so you now have security all the way down to the field, so you can do things, for instance, is set some employees up so they can only view inventory items, but they can't add them. Some can add them, but they can't delete them. All those kinds of things that you see in the other modules now comes to inventory. Saved report settings. You can now create and configure a report the way you want it in particular. If you have a particular layout, particular sort criteria, particular selection criteria, for instance, you might create an inventory listing or something else that lists only items in a particular product group or particular range, and you can actually save those off and then run them on demand. You can actually store those off by user too, so each user can have their own formats for those reports. Once again, that's a framework feature across those other modules too. Also, the user interface has been enhanced with the addition of grids and hyperlinks. Those have proved really popular, and I'll point those out as we work through a few of these. But specifically, the grids provide a little bit easier data entry. Most people have had some experience with Excel, and in Excel you actually enter your data into your grid cells rather than having a separate area that lists your items and then filling in fields. You now can enter directly into the grid, which makes data entry a little more intuitive. And the hyperlinks is an interesting feature. It provides you the ability to jump to a maintenance to take a look at a setup or those kinds of things in the system, and I'll point that out in just a second, that allows you to make those modifications if you have the proper role-based security. So this is the new inventory maintenance screen that comes with 4.4 that's in the framework. The hyperlinks I mentioned just a second ago. In this particular case, the blue, just like you kind of see in a web browser, you can click on and it will open that particular maintenance if you have security to access it. So in this case, you could click on the word product line and actually go in and access the product line maintenance and setup for that particular product line. We've implemented drop-down buttons. Those buttons give us a little bit more screen real estate. You actually can drop those down and make selections for additional things. You'll see that as a common interface element as you move through the framework modules. You'll see more and more of that. Grid control support and a better screen layout. I like to point this out because people sometimes miss these little things that are done. In this particular case, the browse buttons have been moved up next to the key, which is the item code. So when you're clicking through the browsing, next, 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 you actually can look kind of at the item code while you're clicking instead of having to go up and down the screen where you click at the bottom and look at the top, click at the bottom, look at the top. So little things like that make a big difference in being able to easily work through the system and browse through. Each one of those things saves a little bit of effort, and that really adds up over time. The other thing is, if up in the right-hand corner of that screen, you'll notice that it has a minimize and a maximize button. In framework modules, in the past, in some of the systems you work with, some of the modules you work with, the screens are fixed in size, so you can't enlarge them. And now with bigger and bigger screens, people are really asking to be able to make that window bigger to take advantage of their screen real estate. The framework modules in inventory specifically here allows you to resize its screens so that you can maximize that screen real estate. So a really nice feature. Once again, it's a framework feature, and you'll see it in other modules. This is a sample of the inventory listing. I mentioned the save report format where you can actually go in and create different formats. It's all Crystal-based. You can go in and configure that through Crystal using the knowledge you already have using Crystal Maintenance, for instance, in form setup. Supports sticky print and preview. I basically point this out every single time I'm ever talking about framework features because in the framework module, sales order, AR, AP, GL, PO, et cetera, they have the ability, when you're going to print a report, you can click one of these buttons on print or preview, and when you print it, I don't know if you've had this experience, I know I have, you hit the button, you don't get the results you expect, so you want to go back and change it. For instance, you put in the wrong item code range or you misspelled something. When it comes up, when you close that window, you go right back and have to start all over again. Make all your selections, make your sort options, and put in your selection criteria. If you turn those boxes on, the system will retain those settings, so it'll bring you right back to the screen and let you run it again. Once again, a framework feature. And it supports custom office. One thing about inventory, one thing about framework and custom office if you haven't looked at Custom Office recently, which is a standard feature in the software you have, it has a lot more power. You're able to add fields. You're able to make those fields behave in a way that you'd like. You can even add tables, do validation, all kinds of things without custom programming. So you can go in and customize the system to meet your specific business needs without having to necessarily engage DM2, depending on the scope of whatever it is that you're doing. But I recommend you take a look at Custom Office if you haven't and see what's available there. So now this is really cool. This has been something that has been requested almost the entire time I've been at DM2, and that is some enhancements to batch entry. So in inventory batch entry, it's now batch entry is supported in transaction entry, purchase order receipts, purchase order returns, and purchase order issues. This is all part of the new framework, and it's been a big request over the years. In fact, we have even quoted adding batch entry to transaction entry a few times, but it was such a large task that it was not something that people wanted to do just for themselves. So it is part of the core 4.4 now and the standard functionality for that transaction entry as well as the purchase orders. So let's take a quick look. It sets up and controls the standard framework. All the new batching inside of Sage and DM2 uses this new batch structure, and it allows you to basically have the same experience using batches wherever you are in the system that supports it. The batch entry captures the user IDs. The batch can be made private, and it supports all standard batch controls like renumber, verify, and merge of the batches. So a little more sophistication than it traditionally had, and some stuff that really allows you to think about your workflow and think about how you're doing things in inventory. One of the things that I always like to point out too is that in the new batch entry, you're able to select a group of batches to actually have something done to them. So in this case, we have 2 batches selected to print. So you don't have to go through and print each batch individually or all batches. You can actually select a subset of batches to print and update. In purchase order, you'll see the same thing, standard control of the framework. In this case, receipt entry, return entry, and materials requirements issue entry. Those can all be set up individually, enabled individually, and managed individually. Let you have a second look at that. So this is what you see in PO receipt entry. You get your user IDs, your private batch, and all the framework. This is what you'll see throughout batch entry through the framework modules is the same kind of feature set. In the past, some would support some things and didn't have everything, but now they each are running the same way, so it gives you that familiar experience with each one of the batch systems. Same thing like inventory transactions. You can pick them in groups and print them. This is also true of sales orders, true of accounts receivable, accounts payable. The next item I wanted to mention was six-digit cost precision. And basically, this is another enhancement we put in. And I didn't put a lot into it. I didn't really think that we needed to say a whole lot more about it other than it's available to you. That was a function of the new framework, was a 6-digit cost precision. So very exciting stuff. So number 2, purchase control. This has been a feature that's been requested quite a bit to give you more granular control over what a customer can and can't buy. So this is now a core function inside 4.4. It allows the control of what products a customer can purchase. Control is based on customer or ship-to state. And the restrictions on items allowed to purchase are not allowed, and supports items or product lines. So that functionally, the idea behind this is that you can go in and set up a set of products that a customer can buy or a set of products that can't be purchased by some customers. so you can choose which way you want to look at it. If it's more that you want to be able to say these specific customers can only buy these things, then you can set it up that way. Or if it's more generic and you have some things that no one should be able to buy, but these specific customers, you can configure it that way. It does support it at item level or at product line level, so it provides some flexibility. You can control it by customer or by what state the ship to of the customer's in. This is what the setup looks like. Down here at the bottom, you'll see the enable purchase control of items, select items based on, and control purchases based on. So it's turned on in sales order options. You select the items based on the customer or state, and you can control purchases by items not allowed or allowed. In this case, it's set to items not allowed to purchase. You then move over to the purchase control maintenance system. You enter the customer number. In this particular case, it's customer 1, which is one of our test customers. And you'll see down here at the bottom that you can select the items the customer is allowed to purchase or not allowed based on the setup. So in this case, let's say that it's set to allowed. This customer can purchase 03, 01, and 02, premium gasoline, regular gasoline, and mid-grade gasoline. So those are the items they're allowed to purchase. That can be a little tedious if you have a lot of different products that you want to deal with. So the other thing you can do is by product line. So you can go in and say, that for instance, diesel or heating oil, whatever that customer can purchase. And the system will automatically prevent an operator from selling that product, product that's not in that product line to them. There's also a copy from button, which allows you to go in and actually copy a setup to another place so that you can make it much easier for setup. If you have a generic setup that you want to use, you can just say copy from that generic setup. So you can think about, you could create a sort of template and then apply that template to customers as you bring them in. So that's purchase control. I think it's a really great enhancement and a great feature. I really look forward to seeing how people take advantage of it and use it in the field. And I think it's going to allow you to lessen the burden of everybody having to remember. We call it tribal knowledge, everybody having the tribal knowledge that this particular customer can't buy this or must buy that. And in fact, sometimes the customers don't even know what they're supposed to buy. So this helps with that management of that entire setup. It also allows you, if you were sneaky, to discontinue items and make them not sellable by actually filtering them out. So on to number 3. And this is standard cost by warehouse. So one of the things that the system has is a limitation in the previous versions that you were limited to only one standard cost available for pricing. But the problem is that laid-in cost varies by remote locations. So you don't get, so these particular warehouses may have a different cost or should have a different cost than the standard, but since you only have the one standard cost, all your pricing is driven by that. So it makes it a little tedious to manage and set up. So one of the things that we wanted to do was to extend that to allow you to establish a standard cost by each warehouse. So if you have 10 different warehouses, each one can have a different standard cost. So the benefits, it establishes a base price by warehouse, provides stable margins across all your locations. So if you know the cost of this particular warehouse with all of its laid-in costs in is slightly higher, and you want to maintain your margin, you can do that just through the standard pricing setup. And it allows you in some enhanced regional granularity in your pricing, so you can have levels based on geographic areas. So some really nice benefits from there and can really help you simplify your pricing and make sure that you're getting appropriate costs. So it simplifies the lubricant pricing and ensures accurate gross margins across your customer base. So in inventory management, it's simple to activate. There's a checkbox when you're setting up inventory that says allow the standard cost by warehouse. You just turn it on for pricing and inventory options. If you don't want to use this, of course, you don't have to turn it on, and you can just use the system exactly the way you have it today. So after that, you can go into inventory maintenance, and I mentioned that drop-down button earlier. So you can see on the right that we have this little drop-down coming down with some different options. So we need to go in and set the standard cost for our warehouse. We just select the item in item maintenance, select the reorder option from the drop-down button, and it'll display a screen showing your warehouses, their descriptions, the bin locations, and all of your economic reorder, minimum order quantities, etc. But you'll notice there's a new column for standard cost. So you can go in here and put in the standard cost for those warehouses and just fill in each one as you see appropriate to drive your pricing. Once you've completed that setup, you can then go over to item pricing, and you can see that it has a cost warehouse now. So in item pricing, you have the ability to see the cost based on the warehouse selected. So that's new functionality. And then you can see it with its markup amount and what its unit price is going to come out to. This is the price lookup screen. In the price lookup screen, you also have the ability to specify the cost warehouse. So if you're in here and you just want to quickly see what the price on a particular quantity would be, you can pull it up, select your cost warehouse, and actually put in that information and get a more accurate estimate of the pricing coming out of that warehouse. So in this example, it's based on a price level of the customer base cost of $27 for the warehouse 010 plus a markup of $3. So it comes out to $30. Now this is sales order entry. So the price is automatically calculated in sales order entry based on the standard cost for the warehouse. So in this particular case, warehouse 010, and it's coming up with its unit price based on that cost, that standard cost sourced from the warehouse. If the warehouse is not set up with a specific standard cost, then the item's general standard cost is used. In this case, TK1 doesn't have a standard cost configured for it, so it fell back to its standard cost for the item and then marked it up at unit price. If the warehouse is changed, it does issue a warning that the price will be affected and a recalculation should be performed. You could theoretically leave it and it would become a price override, but in this particular case, it wants to let you know that you're doing that so that you don't inadvertently actually change the price or don't get the right price because you changed the warehouse. So it's a little bit of a safety feature there to prevent you from walking on the price and not getting it where you wanted it. So this has been a major thing that people have been asking for, that you guys have been asking for. It's just standard cost by warehouse, and it is a standard feature in 4.4. Oh, I can almost hear the applause. I have to be really quiet. And I just wanted to mention, too, you guys look really good today. I really like the way you're looking. You look relaxed. You look calm. So it's really fantastic. All right, let's come on to number 4. And this is the SageCRM DM2 integration. So as I mentioned earlier, DM2 has been looking a lot at bringing the front office and the back office together with a specific eye towards the petroleum marketer. And if you're not familiar with SageCRM, this is the integrated customer relationship management software from Sage that comes with our Extended Enterprise Suite, our EES suite, or it can be purchased standalone. In this particular case, it's running inside of the Mass 90 system. You can see right in that window. A lot of people don't realize that window is actually a web browser, but it is. And you're looking directly at the CRM system within Mass. It is web browser based. So you can look at it from a web browser from anywhere, from an iPad or a remote device, and access the system and see all kinds of information about your customers and the way things are flowing. And it is fully integrated into Mass for customers, orders, items, etc. So it all syncs real time, all behind the scenes, and you don't really have to, it's not a standalone thing. They actually work in conjunction with the back end. So DM2 has a great CRM package that is integrated and available. We also have a great set of SQL analytics available for managing petroleum businesses. So we have our DM2 SQL product and our analytics product, which normally you see fed into Excel. But we decided to take some of those metrics and add some new ones and put them directly into CRM. So CRM is SQL-based on its back end. So since our analytics are already there, CRM is already in SQL, we thought, what if we combine the two? So this is, for instance, a screen from our new CRM SQL Analytics integration. So we've added the ability to look at a customer's sales, and for instance, this one is done by Petroleum business line. So you can see card lock, equipment, lubricants, their sales gallons, so the difference between their 06 and their 07 sales gallons. So it gives you a lot of information directly from CRM right about what's going on in the Petroleum system, and is tied to the units and setups that you already use for your SQL Analytics. Here's another example of some KPIs and some executive dashboard information. This is showing actual gross profit to plan, gallons actual to plan. This is showing your truck profitability for tank wagon and for truck and trailer. And these are always interesting. Everybody wants to know who their top 5 customers are, but sometimes people don't think about who their bottom customers are. These may potentially be customers who are costing you money in operation, and you'd be better off handing them a business card to your competitor and saying, hey, why don't you buy from them? Because they take more labor, more effort than you actually get as a return for selling them product. It's always something you should look at, and it's something you should be aware of. So this is an example of the kinds of things we're able to do with our SQL Analytics tie-in to SageCRM. Here's another screenshot. This is showing you accounts, it's showing your salesperson, your transactions year-to-date, gallons year-to-date, billed year-to-date, unbilled transactions, all kinds of data that you'd see in the Petroleum side inside DM2 software. All brought directly into CRM, all easily accessible from a web browser anywhere. And that is number 4, SageCRM DM2 Integration. So number 5. The CardLink transaction tab with pricing drill down. Kind of a long way of saying that in our software, we've always had kind of an issue where we haven't been, there's not an easy way to go look at the transactions, the card lock detail transactions for a particular customer. So you go into the system and you want to see all the transactions customer 1 or 1, 2, 3 had. There's not a real easy way to do it. You have to go back and create reports and listings and all those kinds of things. The other thing is that you guys want to be able to see how their pricing was done. So we decided to take those 2 features. We already have the pricing inquiry. We decided to combine them into a single setup for CardLink. So you now have the flexibility to view transactions during account maintenance and inquiry by card number, by a date range, billed or non-billed, or any combination of the 3, making it easier to sort and view your card lock transactions. You can jump directly into pricing drill down. That allows you to view all components of a transaction, including the price, the taxes, margins, and fees that have all been put on that transaction. To give you a little bit more detail, if you're trying to figure out why a particular price is what it is, this gives you the ability to look in and see how it's all assembled and all put together. So in CardLock account maintenance, there's a new tab for transactions. It's available in maintenance and inquiry, so you can handle both of your security modes. If somebody's only allowed to look at stuff and not edit, they'll be able to have access to it, as well as in maintenance. We click on the tab. Transactions are listed for that selected account, so you'll notice that all these transactions just for this particular driver, vehicle, your date, your site, your product, the price, the quantity, the invoice it's on, if it's on an invoice. You can then filter by date range, a type of transaction, or a specific card number. So inside that account, you can say, show me transactions for this particular driver. So if you had somebody on the phone and you're trying to find a particular transaction, this is a quick and easy way to go in there and look at it. Double-clicking or highlighting and then selecting Enter on a given transaction launches our price inquiry. Price inquiry is available standalone also, but we decided to tie it right into the screen to make it easy then to say, I found the transaction I'm looking for, now I'd like to see how it was priced. So if you click on it, if you double-click on one of those lines, you get this window, the account pricing drill down. So it shows the components making up the transaction details. It shows you the date and time, the site, the product, the cost, your margin, your taxes, your fees, and your price, so that you can see how it's all put together and see if there's something weird about this particular transaction or something that might be wrong in the setups. This is a nice way of going back and looking at those particular transactions, and we decided to bring those together to provide a sort of unified look into your transaction history. Give you just a second to look at that screen. It's kind of got a lot of stuff on it. So that's CardLink transaction tab with pricing and drill down, standard feature in 4.4. So now number 6. CardLink transaction alerts. So with the new CardLink transaction alerts feature, you can be alerted to potential theft problems at your CardLink sites before they get out of hand. Lately, we've been hearing a lot, as the price of fuel has gone up, of people trying to game the system, running 2 pumps at the same time or swiping cards multiple places, and some of the networks can't catch it fast enough because the way they're doing it, they may be crossing networks or crossing cards and all kinds of weird things they do. And so what we decided to do is to implement this new feature because ultimately the transactions get to us, and we can have a consolidated view when we look at the transactions across all networks across an account. So it automatically alerts you when cards or accounts fuel on days and or times they are not permitted to fuel, exceed a defined number of transactions per day, exceed a defined number of gallons per transaction. One of the other reasons, one of the other nice things it provides is the ability to put a kind of soft restriction where you can go in and put information in that you don't want to prevent somebody from doing it the way the network might, but you just want to be alerted when it happens. So that's another way to think about it, is you want to know that that particular event happened, but you don't necessarily want to stop them from doing it. It supports CFN, Pacific Pride, and proprietary card. You can look at all transactions for a customer and warning using combined information, so you can look across all the different networks and provide that same setup across all their configurations. And you have several notification options. You can get it on a transaction report. You can have it automatically email internally or automatically email to your customer. Now, I made a note there that says, how's that for customer service? So one of the things, when you're trying to differentiate yourself in a commodities market, you can look at things like a service that you can provide to your customers. This is something you could do. If your customer was interested in knowing when a particular event happened, you can set the system up to drop that email directly to them and send one to you internally that alerts them right away as soon as the convert and edit runs. So it's a nice little lock-in kind of thing. It's a feature you can provide your customers that maybe your competitors can't. So this is the CL alert code maintenance screen. So to begin, you go into the alert code maintenance and create a new one. This one's called weekdays. You can have as many codes as you want. You select the days allowed. In this particular case, we said Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are only weekdays. The times they're allowed to fuel. We have the transactions per day, the gallons per transaction, and then your internal email address that this will actually go out to. You also then can select the notification options you'd like to use, so you can have each one of those appear on a report or an internal email or a customer email. So in this case, we only have the days allowed on a report and an internal email, but the times allowed goes out to all three, and then gallons per day only goes to the email to the customer. So you can have a lot of granularity over how these notifications go out and who's alerted. We then go into CardLink account maintenance, which does support account level alerts. So you can actually go directly to the account, say for all cards on this account, you can select the transaction alerts button from the additional tab, and then go in and create overrides. So what happens is the alert code is automatically applied to all accounts, but you can go in and change it on an account level. So by default, your setups are going to apply everywhere, but you can go in and actually say, but I don't want this specific one on this specific account. So maybe they have some specific rules that you want to set up for them differently than everyone else. So it's an override at the account level. So you can go in along the left, select the checkbox, and then change what actually happens, and that will be what happens for that specific account. Now, what would it be without cards? So you can actually go in and do this at the card level too. So in this particular case, we're looking at the driver card maintenance. There's a button now for transaction alerts. And it brings up a similar screen. Put in the alert code, and then you can override, in this particular case, override gallons per day and transactions per day have been overridden. So it gives you the ability to go in and set some pretty granular level setups all the way down to the card, or as high level as all accounts. So you can choose different levels and have them interact together. this is what the transaction alert listing looks like. So this is the report that prints out. In this particular case, it includes the card information and the violation. So this is the card. It says the following cards were used too many times in a day, and gives you some more detail on it. So this just prints out an alert listing that you can look at. And this is a sample of an email alert. So this is the email that's automatically created. It can automatically, as I said earlier, go to an internal or to the customers directly. It includes the cards and their violations in the setup. You could, of course, create a group internally that this went out to. So instead of emailing an individual, it can email a group of people. All the kind of things you can do with email. And like I said earlier, how's that for competitive advantage? The second that edit runs, it can send this alert out, and you didn't really have to do anything. So it looks to the customer like you're providing a lot of individual service, but in reality, the system's doing it all automatically in the background. So that's number 6, our CardLink transaction alerts. So let's look at number 7. Sage Mass Intelligence. So one of the things that you're probably aware of is that Sage has a number of business intelligence tools, Business Insights Explorer, Business Insights Reporter, etc. They also use an add-on called FRX, and FRX is being phased out by Microsoft over the next couple of years, and it needs a replacement. It's also becoming a little long in the tooth, so Sage was looking at what it could do to update and provide the same kind of functionality you had in FRX, but provide it with some new capabilities and new functionality. And that was with the introduction of Sage Mass Intelligence, or, of course, we love acronyms at DM2, so we call it SMI. 4.4 includes Sage new Mass Intelligence, Business Intelligence, and Reporting tools. It is the replacement for FRX and is based on the familiar Microsoft Excel application, so it still runs inside Excel, so you can leverage all that knowledge that you have of using Excel. Most people have used it at some point, and allows you to create some very detailed analytics and graphs and detail information from the system. It effortlessly creates reports and analyzes the data like FRX can do. It provides data drill down capabilities. You have 2 types of transaction drill downs available. You can drill down with details within the report workbook itself, and you have dynamic drill downs or on-demand reportings where you can create filters and setups to give you some specific data, just kind of we call it drilling down and around, so you can go in and actually create some specific lookups and those kinds of things. And this is interesting. You know, when we think of FRX, we always think of the general ledger, but in reality, with Sage Mass Intelligence, it can access data outside of just the GL. So you can actually go in and create analytics inside Excel and data queries for reports and data presentation that accesses data in inventory, accesses data in accounts receivable, all those kinds of things right in that reporting tool. So it leverages what you learn about SMI and how SMI works can be leveraged across the entire product. Sage Mass Intelligence comes with a standard set of reports to get you started. You can use them as templates when you create your own reports. It has a dashboard analysis, which are financial reports, income statement, balance sheet, etc. Financial trend analysis, general ledger transaction details, customer sales, vendor purchases, inventory sales, and it has multi-company consolidation reports if you purchase an add-on called the connector license. So you can look at several different companies consolidated together. You'll notice here that, of course, the first 3 are really focused in the GL, but the next 3 are throughout the system. So you're looking at customer information, you're looking at vendor information, and you're looking at inventory information. Some really nice stuff, and it really leverages your knowledge as you work in the tool. I apologize for the quality of the screenshots. I had a little bit of a technical difficulty, but you get the idea. This is one of the dashboards. This is the analysis dashboard. It summarizes a display of the company information. You're looking at financials, your top customers, your top salespeople, your top and bottom products, and you're showing sales over various periods, and the graphs are included. So all this is just in the standard core product. You can see right in that dashboard setup. From a financial reporting perspective, this is what you would see. This is a financial report. You can see the income statements and balance sheets, the different options down the left. You have balances per general ledger account number, per financial period for the current financial year, previous financial years, and the current budget year. So you can go in and make some different choices and different selections, similar to what you could do in FRX, but a little bit more powerful. This is what an income statement looks like in the software. Once again, it is in Excel, so you can do some different manipulations there. Here's an example of a balance sheet. This is a consolidated income statement. One of the other nice things that you can do is it has a built-in what-if analyzer that allows you to dynamically change figures in the spreadsheet and can help you with budgeting or forecasting or doing projections. So you can see down at the bottom here, you just have little sliders you move back and forth to try different what-ifs to see what its effect is on the data. So some really powerful, fun tools. I guess as fun as you can make this kind of reporting. And how about some non-financials? So here's a customer sales. You're looking at quantity sold, cost of good, dollars sold by customer. Vendor purchases. Inventory. So an inventory status by warehouse. So you can see a lot of detailed information in Sage Math Intelligence. And the best part, when you upgrade to 4.4, you'll be able to trade in your FRX licenses for an equivalent number of Sage Math Intelligent licenses at no additional charge. So they're providing an even swap to move from FRX over into Sage Math Intelligence SMI during your 4.4 conversion. As far as FRX, FRX is going to be around a little bit longer. It's not for sale anymore, but it will be supported for, I believe, another 2 years, maybe a year and a half. And so it's not imminent, but you definitely, as you move through the 4.4 upgrades and look at what you're doing with your business, you want to take a look at SMI. It is the future of financial reporting within the math system. So that's number 7, Sage Math Intelligence. Let's take a look at number 8. Bill of lading's new valuation methods. So one of the things that we've gotten a lot of requests over the years is for bill of lading to be able to handle valuation methods other than just average cost. And as we've been working on moving our modules up to the framework architecture, we decided, and with the new inventory framework, we decided to take this opportunity to do that. So bill of lading now handles LIFO and FIFO valuation methods. In the past, we've limited you to using that for your lubricants items, but now you could use it for your light products that are running through bill of lading. You can manage the costs used when selling from large volume fuel purchases like tenders. So now you have some support for that out of the box. And it improves your gross margin reporting. So let me give you a little look at how that appears on the screen. This is bill of lading entry, a bill of lading header for product coming from a pipeline. Pretty standard stuff you're used to seeing. We're going to distribute it to a warehouse in this particular case. We're running the update of that particular item, so we update the bill of lading. And what happens is it automatically built those cost tiers in inventory maintenance. So it saw those 2 different VOLs, in this particular case, actually built up their lots with their quantity unit cost extensions in that lot. So this automatically takes care of that behind the scenes and supports both the LIFO and FIFO configurations. And then this is an example of a tier linked invoice. So if you put in a sales order and you've actually linked out to the lots themselves, this is kind of what that invoice would look like. So that brings in the new valuation methods for bill of lading. So you can take a look at those and evaluate, if that would add value to your operation to be looking at cost that way. Of course, average, standard, et cetera, are all supported in addition to, so these are just new options for you when you're setting up your inventory items. And that's number 8 of the bill of lading new valuation methods. Now, while we had the hood open, we went ahead and took care of number 9. Now this is, as I've discussed this next feature, this has been one that we've gotten a lot of questions about and people really want to see, and it's generated a lot of excitement, and that is the bill of lading unified update. So one of the things that we wanted to do while we were working on the cost consolidation, the cost addition of FIFO and LIFO, we also wanted to take a very hard look at the bill of lading update process. Unfortunately, in our original development of bill of lading, it became sort of two separate processes. You had the bill of lading entry and distribution, which would then create sales orders, which then you had to update separately. And that created some issues where the sales orders became unlinked if they got edited during that process, those kinds of things. So we decided to rethink the bill of lading update with the new valuation stuff and rewrite it from scratch, which is what we did. So bill of lading and SO invoice processing has been dramatically improved to enhance workflow, provide better visibility, and faster completion. So these are the advantages for the changes we made. So performing data entry for both BOL and SO invoice from one entry. It helps you identify data entry errors, margins, costs, products, taxes, freight, and pricing when they're easy to fix. By the time you've made the invoice, they become very difficult to fix. You get stuck in credit and rebills, all those kinds of things, which, of course, this reduces the need for that. And it also improves update recovery. One of the things we did, we were very, very careful in the development of this new update process to handle things like a hardware or network update interrupt. So you're running the update system, and all of a sudden it gets you get disconnected or something happens and the update gets interrupted. It now can restart from exactly where it left off. It's really good for us from a support standpoint, and really good for you from a pain in the butt standpoint. What would happen is during that bill of lading update, if anything went wrong and it failed, undoing that was a very significant bad day event. So this takes care of a lot of that. It will allow you, once you fix the underlying error, the system basically can roll back and roll forward and update all the information into the system properly. So it's way more robust than it's ever been, and it was a major key during our rewrite of the bill of lading update. So this is the process. So this is bill of lading entry header, and the bill of lading distribution. Those haven't really changed the way you normally interact with them. So they work as they've always have. When the update is started, the journal's printed first. So you get your standard bill of lading journal. It's then going to print a fuel tax journal behind it. So you get your fuel tax detail. You then get the BOL freight register. So this is your freight breakdown by your different carriers, by your different zones. It used to print after the IM journal, but now it prints before. So it used to go all the way up to the inventory journals, and then you get the freight register. The freight register now prints before those journals. You then get immediately put into the inventory transaction register. You get your issues. You get your receipts. The operator is then asked if they want to print the SO sales journal. If you select no, the update process stops, and you can go back and make any adjustments and then start the BOO journal process all over again. So basically, you can now look at those journals, say, no, I don't want to update any of this stuff, and it will roll everything back, and you can go in and edit your bill of ladings or whatever you need to do. If you answer yes, you'll get the SO daily sales journal. You'll get the gross profit exception journal. So I've not left the bill of lading update at all. This is all still running inside the bill of lading update itself. I didn't go over to sales order or anything. This is just right on, keeping right on going. I get my sales tax journal. And then I get a gross profit journal question. So it's prompting me for whether or not I want to print the gross profit journal. If you select in here, you go all the way back to the top, and you can actually go in and make modifications. So you haven't gotten too far yet. You could still go back, change something, so you could look at your gross profit journal, say something's not right, go back and actually edit it, inside bill of lading, go edit the sales order, all those kind of things to get it the way you want it, and then you can come back here and start all over again. So you haven't even committed yet to actually doing the update. So you get your sales order gross profit journal. So if you say no, the gross profit journal does not print, but we'll continue with the update by asking if the user wants to print your invoices. So at this point, you now can print the invoices out. You're given the option to print. The invoice prints exactly the way you'd expect. You get your SO invoice printing screen. So now you're at the final opportunity to stop the process. So at this point, you could actually say no, where it says, do you want to proceed with a unified IMSO and BOL update? If you said no, it'd undo everything, and you can go back and start all over again, going through, making sure everything's configured right. So you got all the way through invoice printing. You can still undo this and go back and start the entire process again, and it will roll everything back. But if you say yes, you then get your daily transaction register. That's the final step, and then the final update. So that's the end of the process. So that way, you start at the beginning, you work all the way through, you get all of your detail, all of your information, your journals, and your reports, and you get to the end, you have a chance to look at all that data before you've actually committed the bill of lading. So you haven't actually committed the bill of lading to inventory yet, or to the sales order, so you have a chance to fix those things before you get too far. Because of its integration with inventory, there will no longer be a separation of LR and LT source journals. So this is your daily transaction register. The update is complete to general ledger, and there are no additional steps required. You're done. So you don't have to go back and update those sales orders or anything else. It has completed that process. So from the time that you started that bill lading update all the way through, it is finished. Everything's been updated to inventory. Everything's been updated to sales order. It's all in your GL. It's all done. So some of the benefits, links between the SO invoices and VOs are maintained accurately for tax reporting. So sometimes you would accidentally, people would accidentally go in and make a modification to the sales order and would break the link back to the bill of lading, which is fine at the time because you've got your inventory right and all that kind of stuff. But when we get to tax reporting at the end of the month, we have trouble tying that pickup or that receipt to your distribution. So this makes sure that link is maintained and make sure those tax reports are accurate. We do allow the original sales order now to be edited. We didn't used to let you do that. So you can actually go into the original sales order that the bill of lading is being distributed to and make a modification. You might need to go in and add an item or change a quantity. You can actually go in and do that in the original order. In the past, you had to create an invoice, then make a modification there that may not be reflected on the order. No more. You can go directly in and modify the order right in sales order. And as much as we love to hear from you, the new restart is going to reduce support headaches for us and you. It's one of our top calls. We spend a lot of time with you guys when we do get an update problem. So this should improve that process and really may make you guys have less Tylenol sitting around the office. So. And that's number 9, the bill of lading unified update. So number 10. One of the things that we have really wanted to do and been really working on is finding a way to extend a customer-facing presence to the web. So this would be customers coming to your site and putting in orders and processing things. And we've really been working hard on that because we wanted to maintain the system integrity, your security, and provide a really easy configurable setup to let you interface to the web system. So what we did was we formed a partnership with a company called Website Pipeline. We went out and looked at different developers who develop online ordering systems, and Website Pipeline actually works within the Sage community. So they are another Sage reseller who develops specifically web ordering applications. They have some relatively large customers. One of them is a rock band called Metallica. Those are huge amounts of transactions. They have an entire data center for them. It is a hosted solution and provides all the functionality we were looking for, and they're very open to doing some Petroleum extensions that I'll talk about in just a second as we move forward. So what are we offering, or what are they offering? So in partnership with DM2, we'll be offering online web ordering. So that's your customer coming in and actually placing orders on the web. It is a new DM2 partnership. It is real-time integration with MAS and DM2. This is not a batch thing where you're uploading transactions out to the web or anything. This is all happening real time. So if you put an order in, the order is sent down to MAS in real time. It's credit checked, all those kinds of things. You have different levels of authorization, whether the order is going to go or not. When you make a transaction change or they change something on their account, that all happens real time through a firewall secured system. What's really nice too is you don't actually have to host all this. This requires a lot of back-end stuff that goes on. They just need to work with you on setting up a port to connect your computer, their computer at their location with your computer, and they're good to go. So you don't have to worry about all the Web 2.0 webby stuff that goes on in the back end to make all this magic happen. And they also will do additional web development. Beyond just the interface with DM2, these guys will work on you for an entire site. So for instance, we wanted to form a partnership with someone that could provide a total end-to-end solution. So if you're thinking about reworking your website, changing your image, doing some static pages, things like that on your site, the About page, what we call a business card page, or other things that are going on, they can provide a total solution for you. So with full configuration setups and maintenance and everything. This is what their kind of system looks like. So they call it Rapid Deployment E-commerce. The company's website pipeline you can see at the top of the slide, and their whole business is Sage integration, so in back office accounting integration. So they're a web developer. That's what they do. That's their area of expertise, and they develop for the Sage community. This is an example of what one of their web portals look like. This is with a secure login. In this particular case, it's just widgets, but you can imagine what that might look like with your products on it. Colors, layout, configurations are all user-defined, so you guys can go in and set it up any way you want, have different pages, all kinds of different tracking information, all kinds of stuff available right there. So it's just a form that you go in and fill out, and the system can be set up any way you want. And it has all your standard kind of shopping cart sort of configurations, that kind of thing. This is what order entry looks like. So for instance, we've got your billing information, contact, shipping, and then you're going to order some items here at the bottom. This particular order form then sends the data back to the back office right when they hit accept. So there's not this process where at night or something you have to bring all the transactions down. This is all happening real time back and forth between the systems. So it's real exciting stuff. We are also working on some future development with them. So all of that I've showed you and talked about right now is available today through the partnership with DM2 and website pipeline. You just have to talk to us, and we can get that all set up for you. But we are going to support wholesale price quotes, so that'll be the ability to put the wholesale price quotes you send out electronically right on your website. You can have your customers connect in, and they'll be able to view those. AR EFT notifications, so if you draft a customer, there's a place to put the EFT notifications themselves so they can see that. Dealer credit card batches that are being reimbursed. And they'll be able to pay open invoices online. So they'll be able to go in and actually apply a payment to particular invoices and have all that work automatically. So that's like taking a credit card to pay for product online. Really very cool stuff. These guys have been real open to all these kinds of developments with us, and they're excited and we're excited. And we think it's going to be a real game changer as it improves your customer relationship, customer lock-in with your guys, as well as providing sort of a future-facing thing for some of the large customers. I know that some of our petroleum marketing customers are running into large operations now as customers that will not do business any other way. So that's becoming a requirement to get these large accounts. And that's number 10, the website pipeline. So a little bit of a recap. We talked about the inventory module and framework and all the things that went with that. The new purchase control system, which lets you maintain and set up and restrict what a customer can or can't buy. Standard cost by warehouse to allow you to even those margins out across your different warehouse locations and get your pricing a little more automated. The new CRM DM2 integration for the Petroleum stuff that provides the metrics and analytics directly in CRM. The CardLink transaction tab with drill down. The CardLink transaction alerts, which of course you want to be thinking about, especially in this time when we're hearing more and more about large thefts of products from card locks. Sage Mass Intelligence, the replacement for FRX, and more. The new bill of lading valuation system for FIFO and LIFO. The unified update, and the new website pipeline. There's some very exciting things that are going into the product or in 4.4 that you can take advantage of. Some things that have been
been sticking points over the years and things we've wanted to change and make better, and we're really taking the time to do that and get it right. So we're very excited about it and can't wait to get it into your hands. And there are many more functions. I didn't go into detail here, but a lot of little things and some big things. So some really exciting things going on. So now I'd like to talk a little bit about 405. So we have 3 versions right now, 405, 4.3, and 4.4. The DM2 405 platform was released in March 2005. The 4.3 platform was released in September of 2008. And the 4.4 platform was released in June of 2011. That should say 2011. Sorry about that. So what we're looking at is the amount of changes that have been made from 405 on up to 4.4. So there's been a lot of new features added to the software, and that sort of created a feature gap between 405 and 4.4. So, you know, as we've been adding functionality, Sage has been adding functionality over the last few years since 2005 when 405 was released. There's been a lot of stuff. So basically a pile of new features have been added since 405. And I'm not sure how this is going to play out over the WebEx, but we'll see. What I said, literally a pile. I mentioned earlier that there were a lot of new functions and new features added to the software, and there's quite a few. So our 4.4 software is significantly more advanced and more sophisticated than 405, and so what we want to say is that 405 has reached its end of life. So we'll be ending support and sales of 405 over the next year. So here's some details. DM2 support will end for 405 on September 30th of 2012. So that's September next year. Any 405 customer who signed up for an upgrade and has received an upgrade go-live date will be supported beyond the September 2012 deadline. So as long as you contacted upgrade and you guys have agreed upon a go-live date, we will continue to support you after 2012 until you get your upgrade completed. Of course, you can contact your sales representative or account manager if you have any further questions about that. And if you've not scheduled to upgrade, please contact the upgrade department at DM2 for assistance, and they'll be glad to get that process started for you. Just a point, I know it seems like a long way away, but I always want to remind people September 30th is approaching pretty fast. The sooner you get started, also the more flexibility you'll have getting the upgrade done when you want. So if you want to do it in the fall, or you want to do it in the spring or the summer, or whenever is appropriate for you after year end, whatever it is, the sooner that you contact the upgrade group, the better chance you'll have of getting the timeline that you want to have everything completed. So that's something to keep in mind, and you want to get in contact with the upgrade group as soon as you can. So let's take just a minute or two and talk about the road ahead and what we're going to be working on. Specifically, I'd like you to take a second and think of this as your software. This is the beautiful downtown Portland. It's got some nice water. Everything's very relaxed and laid back, and that's what's going on the surface. And one of the things we want to make sure is that that is maintained, that your experience with the software is a comfortable, familiar experience with you. But this is what we're going to be doing over the next couple of years. We're going to be going under the hood and rewriting large portions of the system, basically tunneling underneath. That's actually what's been going on. So those of you who were on 3.7 and moved to 4.05 then moved to 4.3, this has actually been going on behind the scenes, bringing those new functionalities you see in the framework, the new capabilities of the system. So it's something to consider is over the next couple of years, there may be some changes on the surface, but there'll be a lot of changes underneath, providing some new capabilities for the future. So what might those be? Now, one of the things I'm not a big fan of talking about the future, so I'm just going to let some slides kind of move past and let you you can make any interpretations you'd want about what they may mean. But so I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to let these play out.
So a lot of the work we're going to be performing under the hood are to enable some of the things you saw there and some new options for how you interact with the software and how that works within your business. We're very excited about all those future developments and the stuff we're working on very hard. Of course, the 4.4 stuff I've been talking about is currently shipping. It's in the product now. But there's some very, very exciting things that are coming down here in the next couple of years. Finally, I want to talk a little bit about making new connections with DM2. We like to use the term connections for when we interact with you through different media and different methods. This is, of course, a method that we'll be communicating going forward. We'll be using webinars and WebExes. As you probably know by now, DM2 is putting our user conference on hiatus for a while. We're not going to be having our annual user conference because we haven't been reaching as many customers as we'd like to. And so we're trying some new formats, this being one of them. This is the kind of presentation that you would have seen at the user conference, but we're trying some different vehicles and to get some more interaction going on. So first of all, Connections webcasts, which this is the first of. We're going to be running a series of webcasts pretty frequently to give you the opportunity to see new functionality, new features, new capability, to interact with DM2, to learn what we have to offer, as well as to answer your questions and that kind of stuff in a group setting. We now have a presence on Facebook. It's the DM2 Software Company page where you can go and post, and we monitor that. We also have on LinkedIn a new DM2 Software Connections forum and a DM2 Software Company page. The Connections forum, you have to be added in so you can request. You can always view the company page, but if you want to be on the Connections forum, which I recommend you do, we'll be communicating a lot of information through that. You just go in and request, and we'll add you in. This is the LinkedIn community specifically, we believe is going to be a great way for us to interact with you and communicate with you, as well as providing a place for you to talk to others. You can get on there, ask questions, you can reply to other people's questions, and use it as a way to do some networking with other companies about issues you may be having, or things you're thinking about doing in your business, or challenges you have with the software, opportunities you have with the software, as well as talking to DM2 about what's on your mind. For instance, I would really like it if you guys, after we get off this conference, would pop on over to the LinkedIn page, get signed up if you're not signed up already, and tell me how we did. Tell me if you liked this presentation. Tell me what other things you'd like to have presented. Tell me all about the different things that you'd like to have us talk about in our webcasts and how in our interactions. So, I'd really love to see a lot of busy posting going on in LinkedIn right after this and over the next few days, telling us what you liked and what you didn't. We'll take all of that into account. Of course, the people who take the time to go and do those things, we listen to very, very heavily. We listen to everybody, but that puts us it makes you a little bit of a squeaky wheel, so we can see it right away on LinkedIn, and it gives us a chance to look at what you're thinking. So, as I said, this was the first of the Connections webcast. So, what's next? Our next webcast will be on September 15th, and that's this coming September 15th. So it's not too far away. This is the registration that will go out very shortly. It's for this one's going to be for the Unified Bill of Lading and Sales Order Invoice. So I mentioned earlier about the new Unified update, and that's generating a lot of buzz, and people are talking about it and how it's going to impact their business, and they're getting very excited about it. So we decided to do a presentation on that specific feature. So we're going to have one of our professional services consultants talk about this functionality, take you through the process, talk about what advantages it has, talk about differences in the operation and the things that you're able to do. It'll be done as a webinar just like this one was. This is taking a piece out of the user conference and really drilling down on it and talking about it. So we're very excited about starting this process and really working it through. And like I said, get on LinkedIn or email, but we'd really love it if you got on LinkedIn. Tell us what you think. So I hope you saw something to get excited about. I really enjoyed doing this. It's about 10 minutes till time will be up for us. And so we're going to try and answer a couple of questions if we can. So I'm going to hand this back over to Tom
VP Sales, and he's gonna. I haven't been looking at the chat window, so I don't know where we are there, but he's gonna repeat a question if we've got any in there, and then we'll try and answer that for you. So, Tom.
All right, thank you, Chris. Great job. We do have a couple of questions that were entered in through the course of the presentation. The first one is from Kim at Petrostar, and she entered this question right before you got to the standard cost by warehouse section of the presentation, but her question is standard cost by warehouse in version 4.4?
Yes, it is in 4.4.
All right. Like I said, that came in right before you got to that section, so I think you answered it during the course of the presentation. Next question is from Sean at Interstate, and he asks if the SQL CRM reports that you showed in CRM, are they canned reports?
Some of them are canned, but we can also customize it based on what you need. It's more of a framework for setting up those reports, and we can work with you, work with you, Sean, to go through and figure out exactly what you'd like to see, and we can add that to the system for you. Those were really just examples, and we can provide those sort of in a canned way, but most people have their own unique way of dealing with that information.
Okay, thank you, Chris. The next question is from Christy over at Coleman. Her question is, in 4.3, is there an option for fees and card lock?
Yes, there is. There is that capability.
Okay, great. The next question is from Norma over at McPherson, and she's asking if she can get copies of the presentation emailed to her. What we'll do, Norma and everyone else, is as soon as the recording is available, we'll send an email to everyone who's attended this presentation, and it'll have a link to be able to download the recording, and we'll also include a link to where you can download the presentation material. All right, the next question is from Christy at Coleman again, and Christy is asking is, in the new 4.4 bill of lading, can we select which lot we want to bill from?
So when they're actually creating the invoice, can they select a lot? Is that what?
Yes.
I guess that's what she's asking. Yeah, well, we're going to have to, I believe you can, but we want to make sure we give a precise answer. So when we get done with this, we'll look it up and email Christy and let her know.
Okay, very good, Chris. Thank you. Next question is from Sheila at LF Powers, and her question is, website pipeline available before upgrading to 4.4?
Yes, it is on 4.3. So you have to be on 4.3 or later.
Okay. Next question is from Karen at Conserve FS. It's another website pipeline.
Let me say something about that real quick. There will be some limitations. We'll have to talk about that offline. Yes, it's available, but there's some things that it won't be able to do that 4.4 will be able to do. So let me just clarify that. We'll have to talk to her directly about that.
Okay. All right. As I said, next question came in from Karen at Conserve FS. She's asking if using the website pipeline portal, will customers have the ability to print invoices?
They can view invoices from history. They're shown in the web format. Yes, they could print them if they wanted to. But it probably won't be. It won't be an exact reproduction of the invoice the way they would have received it. It'll have the same data on it, but it may not have. It won't have like all the tax detail and some other things. We're looking at providing some more capability there, but today, what you see is a tax summary for the excise tax. You don't get the detailed breakdown. So it's something we can look at in the future, but in the first generation, you cannot print an exact replication of the invoice.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
However, we did in 4.4 add, well, I was going to say, in 4.4 we did add the ability for you to do an invoice reprint from history to outbox, though. So that's something it didn't have before, where you can actually go in and if a customer calls and wants a reprint of the invoice, you can send it directly to email. And that's a feature of 4.4.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Next question is from Dan at Blarney Castle, and he is asking if the LinkedIn Connections forum is different from our current forum.
Tom, you'd probably be better to answer that question.
Sure. Dan, and for everyone else's benefit, we weren't really happy with the kind of traffic we had on our forum, and we thought opening it up to a more public forum like LinkedIn would give more people an opportunity to participate. And so far, it's been very well received. We've got quite a few customers already on it. And as Chris mentioned, we'd love for you to join it and to give us some feedback on today's webcast and let us know what you'd like to see in future webcasts. Next question is from Carol at Interstate, and she wants to know, in bill of lading, what about adding invoice comments and changing miscellaneous descriptions?
You can change them. You can change some things by going into the sales order. So you could add miscellaneous things directly to the sales order itself or alter a description there. So just about anything you can do in sales order, you can do. You're not locked. In the past, you were locked in once the sales order was created and you locked it to a bill of lading. You couldn't go in and make those kind of changes, like add a comment or make a miscellaneous change. Now you can. So even though you've already assigned it to a bill of lading, you can go in and add some more charges to the sales order or change a comment line or any of those kind of things.
Okay, thank you, Chris. All right, the last question is from Jeff at McPherson, and he is asking if there is a manual, online, or paper of the new features. And Chris, I'll go ahead and answer this. Jeff and everyone else, we have put together a document that summarizes all the features that have come out from all of the releases since 4.05, and we will make that available to everyone who attended the presentation today. And then, sorry, one last question just came in from Dan at Blarney Castle. He was asking if the current forum is going to be discontinued.
Yes, the one that's on the DM2.com website is going to be shut down.
Right. So everything's going to take place going forward on the LinkedIn Connections forum.
Correct.
All right. That's all the questions that we have. If anybody has any other questions, feel free to email them to us, and we'd be happy to answer them. As I said, in a few days, we'll have the recording for this presentation available, and we'll go ahead and send a message out to everyone who attended on how to access that recording, how to access the presentation material. So I want to thank everybody for attending, and we look forward to having you attend our future webcasts. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes today's What's New at DM2 webcast.